Okay, everybody, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for using Sitecore Advanced Tips and Tricks. My name is Zach Peterson. I work with the Training and Communications team here at OIT. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Ian Aberly, who I like to call the Sitecore Wizard. And what he's going to go over today is beyond what we cover in the basics course. So a lot of really cool stuff to make your pages stand out in Sitecore. And just a little bit of administrative stuff before we get started. If you do have any questions during this webinar, please feel free to let us know by clicking on the Q&A button on your webinar software. And once you do that, you can type in your question and I'll see them on my screen. And we will probably save the majority of questions until the end of the demo. And so go ahead and get those questions in as the presentation moves on, and we'll make sure to get those answered for you. So without further ado, let me go ahead and I will hand it over to Ian.
Thank you, Zach. Yes, yeah. So we do definitely want to make sure that we answer as many of your questions as possible. So throughout the presentation, if any time you have a question, just go ahead and write it into that Q&A area, and Zach will share that with us at the end. Today we're going to be talking about basically some advanced tips and tricks that we can do to kind of take our Sitecore pages to the next level. So we're going to be doing things like adding tables that are responsive so they can shrink or expand depending on whether they're being viewed on a desktop or on a mobile device. We're going to be talking about how to add an alert or a button to your page, all those kind of things that will kind of just add a little extra flair to your page. So to begin, I want to show you one thing. Everything I'm going to be covering today will be found on the SMU Wiki. And if you're not familiar with that, it's at wiki.smu.edu. Once you log in, if you'll just go up to the search bar and type in using Sitecore, it'll be that first thing that pops up, which should bring you to this page that we're seeing now. And when you're here, the using Sitecore and this whole wiki knowledge base is organized as you would use it building out your site. So it starts off with using Sitecore, which is most of what Zach covers in the basics class, from creating a page, adding content to your page, and then starts building up to get more advanced topics like using widgets and taking your Sitecore site live. What we're going to be talking today about is some of these advanced topics, and then also most of what we'll be talking about today is in the Sitecore CSS styling and formatting section. So we'll be actually doing all these things here today. And then if at any time you forget or just unsure about something I've talked about, it's all going to be right here. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've already opened up my Sitecore page. I have a demo page that I've created for us to use today as we build out our Sitecore site. To show you what it looks like right now is this very simple page. So I have some text here. I have my heading. I have some basic text. I have a link here for an apply now. I have a reminder about registration. I have this little table with hours for our registration desk. And then just some general information about the university here. So right now it's a fairly plain page. Some things that we could do immediately to kind of add some interest. Photo would be nice. The table could use some help. That apply now, we want people to apply for our programs. That's not a very inviting link. It doesn't tell me do something. So we're basically going to work our way down this page and add features just using some very simple CSS or Cascading Style Sheets to add some jazz and pizzazz to this page. To begin, I'm going to go ahead and lock and edit my page. And then I'm going to scroll down to my body content area. I'm just going to click Show Editor. And here is the rich text editor for my Sitecore page. Most everybody who's authoring a page on Sitecore should be very familiar with this window here. You have your content, you have this very word-like interface. You can select your text, you can make words bold, you can do your little hyperlinks. This one would do an insert a Sitecore link, which would link to another item within Sitecore, or if you have an external link, you can use that tool there. So all this stuff should be very familiar to you. Most of what we're going to be working with today is actually found in the HTML part. Unfortunately, there's not an easy way to kind of get to this. So we do have this HTML tab down the bottom, which will allow us to go back behind the scenes and add these features. If you're not familiar with HTML, there is a wonderful HTML basics tutorial on lynda.com. So you can just go to smu.edu/lynda and just type in HTML basics, and they'll should pull up the right video to get you started. But we're going to just, if you basically just follow along here, you'll be able to make these changes to your site without that knowledge. So I'm going to start with this first one. These P's here, this is a paragraph. So this first section from this P tag to this closing P tag is one paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and do what's called a lead, or add a lead to this page. And the simple way to do that is just type in class equals lead. Now we're going to be using today a bunch of CSS classes, and these are predefined look and feel stylings that you can add to your page without doing a lot of hand coding. So these have all been pre-designed, pre-done, and Marketing Public Affairs has defined a certain number of these already with some SMU branding and look and feel, and those are the ones we're going to be using today. So I just simply added that class equals lead to that first paragraph. If I just hit accept and save, I can come over to this tab that I already have open with my preview and just reload that preview, and you'll see what it does is kind of gives a big strong introduction to your page. Very simple, very easy. Now this is great for on your main landing page. It doesn't need to be on every single page. If you have a major subsection or something like that, it might be a good way to introduce that. The other thing too is it's very helpful to have other text beneath it. So if you have like 3 paragraphs of text and you do it on the first one, it will really give that really nice look to it. But if you have just that lead and then like an image and nothing else beneath it, it just doesn't have the same weight, and kind of actually looks out of place. The other thing too is I would not do it to every paragraph in your section. You just want to do it for that first one. If you do it for the second one and the third one, again, it starts losing its power and that impact. Next thing we want to do, let's go ahead and we'll play with this button here, or this apply now. And what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and create a button for that. There's some predefined styles. We're going to go ahead and just start off with the primary style for a button. I'm going to come back over to my desktop. Again, I'm going to go show editor. I'm going to click on the HTML tab here at the bottom. And I'm going to come over and find that link, which is right here. This is that apply now. Now, anywhere, somewhere within this href tag, I can come in, not be, let's go after those quotation marks there. I can go ahead and add the code or the class for that button. To start off with, I can just put in class equals, and the abbreviation for the button is BTN. Very simple, BTN. Now, this first class that I put in here basically specifies make this a button. Now I can say, what kind of button do I want to do? If I don't do anything at all right now, the button will be just a kind of default gray button. And we all know we like our SMU colors. So if we want to make this the main button or the primary button, we just add btn hyphen primary. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and close that. Again, I'll hit accept. I'll go up to save, and I'll reload the page. Look at that. Nice, simple, easy button. Not a lot of work needed for that. Now, because you can make this a button, it actually gives the user when they look at this, they go, oh, that's something to click. That's something I want to go ahead and hit. I want to apply now. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what about, can we make the buttons red? Well, yes, you can. And to make a button red, again, I'll just come back over. I'm just going to click my Edit HTML tab to just get straight to this window here. Instead of primary, we do, I love this one, danger. That should be a warning to you, actually, while you're doing this. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. So be very restrictive about how often you do that. So there's our red button. Now, here's a couple of things. I would try not to overuse buttons. You don't need to make every single link within your page a button. Just things that make sense, things that are kind of a call to action. Click here. You don't need to also, you don't want to have in your page, in the middle of a paragraph, have a button. So these are going to be links that stand off by themselves. They're a call to action. The other thing too is that you can, by changing some of these, give the users a visual clue as to what's going on. So for our registrations, we sometimes have the buttons there, and then when the registration's full, we can actually remove the link but keep the button and make it gray, so it's an inactive button. So they kind of know that, oh, I've missed the registration. Or you can change the button to, instead of say register now, sold out, something like that. So the button's still there, but just another way of showing what's going on with your page. All right, so I have this nice little button here for apply now. And then what I have beneath that, though, is this reminder. Registration closes July 1st. Seems kind of important information for somebody to know and somebody to see. Again, great example. If it's after July 1st, go ahead and you remove that link from that button above and make it gray, and they know they missed out on that great deal. So for this one, I'm going to do what's called an alert. And, well, actually, it's not. It's an alert is what you're creating, but what it is called is actually an attention call out. So it's kind of hard to remember, but there's actually some nice bit of code that goes with it that we wrap around this text here. So let's go back to our Sitecore page. Quick edit HTML. All right, so I have this paragraph tag right here. Sets that off. Reminder, registration closes July 1st. This one actually takes a little more typing, but if you have that wiki page available, that's a great way to get started. So I'm actually going to come back here. I'm not a big fan of typing as much as possible. So I'm going to come back to this add attention call out. And what you'll see here on this wiki page is we actually have this code already written for you, which you can just select, right click and copy, come back to your page. And I'm just going to put that right above that paragraph. There we go. So now it's pretty simple here. We've basically added what's called the alert here. So we've added the class alert, and the type we've done is an info. And the info is what's going to put a box around our section. Then we've said, in this case, it says pull right, which means it's going to move the text over to the right of your page. And then we've kind of actually added a little extra style here to add a dimensions to that box. So in this case, we're saying don't make it wider than 250 pixels. Then what we have here is a small tag, and what this is going to do is actually make the text within this box smaller. Now this is the nice part. This label is going to basically highlight the please note part for us, or the reminder. And what that's going to do is put in a nice little red box. Then we close that up, and then you have your message. We close those tags, and we're done. So let's get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to come over here, put my alert text here, which in this case is the reminder. Oh, forgot the colon there. And then I'm going to just take this part here. We're going to go cut that, put that here. Oop, forgot the, I do want that period. Sorry about that. And I can go ahead and just delete this here. Now, when I go ahead and hit accept and save and reload my page, you'll see we now have this registration reminder over here to the side. Now, what if you don't want this here? I want this actually to show up underneath my button. The pull right is what puts it over on this right-hand side. We want it to actually show up over here. So if I can come back to my edit HTML and remove the pull right, I'm going to do pull left. Let's do that. Click accept and save and reload the page. There we go. Now you see what's happening. It's now forcing the table there. So that's what the pull will do. It will go ahead and have the other content basically wrap around it. If you don't want something like that at all, again, you just go back to your HTML, remove the pull left, click accept, save, and reload. All right. So just a couple ways there you can kind of format that up. Now in our tag here, actually I'm going to go to this wiki page here. The alert info, this part here is what gives us this blue box. If you just leave it alert, you'll get a nice gray box. Just like we did with our button, different things will change the look and feel there. The label important is what gives us the red box around the reminder. If we don't do that, that gives us if we don't do that, it's a gray box. And I think if you don't do the alert info, this is actually a yellow box. I'm sorry about that. So this kind of gives it the nice SMU branding and colors. Now, the other thing too is I'm looking at now is that these two things are not lined up. And I find that, to me, I just want to knock that little button over just a little bit and also have it be a little bit more noticeable. So if I come back to my HTML here, we can do some things to this button to kind of get it to fit better with the alert that's beneath it. If I come in here, I got the class danger. Come in right after that, and I'm going to add a little styling to this. I'm just going to say style equals quotation marks. And on this, what I want to do is I'm going to say that I want to have the margin kind of match up with that alert call out box. And I think that, from what I recall, is I'm going to add a margin to the left of 20 pixels. Now, this is not necessarily something you'd have to do all the time. Just because I have that alert underneath here, I want to kind of match those up. If you're just happy with your button, you have a paragraph text underneath that, you will not have to do this at all. This is only if you are going a little OCD like I am right now and you want those two to line up. So I have that 20 pixels there. And then the other thing I want to do too is I'm putting in a semicolon to say I want to do another little bit of styling. I'm going to say I want the minimum of my width. So I'm going to do min width to be, let's do 270. And what that's going to do is it's going to match up with this 250 pixels. But that 250 pixels is basically this stuff in the middle, but not the padding around it. So there's some padding that we're compensating for. And then px for pixels, another semicolon, close quotation mark, click accept, save. And if I reload this, hopefully everything will look right. Ah, nicely done. So now, the reason I did the min width, instead of just saying width be 350 pixels, if you have more text than what I've put there, what will happen is the box will grow, but it will never get smaller than this. And the nice thing too is if we go to window mode here, if I drag this in, see how this is all going to be very friendly for your mobile devices. See how that lead changes and everything? All right. But because I have the minimum width set there for that button, unfortunately, that's going to do the same thing for this. Is it's going to say, oh, it's going to hang off the side there. So there's just a couple of things you can do to that. One, we can go ahead and remove the minimum width and just have the button be the regular size and just go with that. The other thing too is instead of saying our margin here is 20 pixels, we can actually tell this one to have a margin of negative 20 pixels and force it over too. So there's just some things there. Again, if you're really interested in doing CSS and cascading style sheets, I would highly recommend you visit our lynda.com page at smu.edu/lynda and type in CSS, and there's a whole bunch of great tutorials there that you can spend hours on just perusing on using and manipulating cascading style sheets. Unfortunately, that's going to be a little outside of what we're doing here. So what we're doing here is just doing some pre-built canned stuff that you can basically copy and paste and add to your page. So that way you don't have to be an amazing web designer. You can just look like one. So if I come back to my desktop and my Sitecore page here, if I click Edit HTML, next thing I want to do and work with is this table here. So right now our table is this kind of, well, very plain Jane table. And what I want to do is kind of style that up too. So right now the table is all nicely formatted. We basically have our table, our first table row with that heading. And then we have some table text here. And then it kind of closes up and is done. If we look at our tool here, I'm going to go back to the rich text editor. In our rich text editor, we do have the table tool here where we can use the table wizard and create a table, or we can actually right click on that table and go to table properties. And in here, there's this great little thing to add some CSS layouts to it. You can choose any one of these, and what it'll do is go ahead and format your table to match those. The downside of this, though it works very well, is one, it goes ahead and hard codes all those table features into your table. For one, it just doesn't just apply the style to the main table. It basically does each cell with this. So if you change your mind, sometimes there's a little piece that gets stuck, which is a downside. The other problem I have with this is these tables are not necessarily responsive. So if you look on your table on your mobile phone or your smartphone versus your tablet device versus your desktop computer, the table is going to pretty much be the same size no matter what. So it could be on your tablet and on your phone, you'll have to do some horizontal scrolling, which is kind of weird. So while those are here and easily get to, we're going to do one that's actually incredibly easy and does, I think, a very good job. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. And I'm going to go close that and get just straight to the edit HTML window, since it, well, fits better in my screen here. I'm just going to come to this very first table tag. I'm just going to click within there, and I'm just going to say class equals table. Just a very simple thing to do, and it does a really great job. And so when we go ahead and accept this and save it, and we come back over to our page and we reload it, what you'll see is it's gone ahead and it not only makes the table fit the space that it has available to it, it adds these nice little rollovers so you can see which cell you've highlighted on. And my absolute favorite part is that if I'm on my phone, it will automatically resize to fit my phone or my tablet. So no extra work on your behalf. You just have to put your content there and it'll automatically resize. Okay. Very, very easy to do. All right. So there's just some basic things that you can do with some CSS to kind of highlight things on your page, add some more, a little bit of splash. Again, the buttons thing, I'm going to go, that's actually now starting to bug me again. I'm going to go back to my button here. I'm going to go ahead and remove all that extra stuff there. There we go. Just get rid of that whole style part there. And I'm just going to actually go ahead and I think I'm going to just take that. I'm just going to move it somewhere else. Put it up, actually up against this paragraph here. So sometimes moving things around will kind of help things out. So again, remember we have this alert and we have the width, but let's go back to the add that poll. And I'm going to say right. Remember I told you you'll wrap the text around it. So if I go ahead and accept this and save and reload, it'll put it off to the side against this paragraph, and then you have that nice floating button there. Nice and easy, and you don't have some weird ginormous wide button. All right. So these are just a couple of things that we can do to our page, quick and easy, to kind of add a little bit of splash there. So we have our button, we have this lead text at the top here. We have our alert, or our what's called the attention call out if you're searching on the wiki. We've added the button, and we showed the two different colors, the primary, which is the blue, and the danger, which gives you that lovely red color there. And then we've added a table to this table section. Nice and easy to do. All right, let's talk about this area down here. So we have a bunch of text here and a lot of scrolling involved. And so let's talk about, there's a couple of different ways we can actually display this text. One, we can have it just like it is here. The other way, and I actually have a demo of it here. I'm going to go ahead and open this page, preview this. Again, there's a blue button, there's another button. Is one, we could do an accordion. And what the accordion will do is when you click on these pages, they'll open and collapse with the content. Now, one thing as we start talking about widgets, right now, unfortunately, widgets do not work in the preview. And so if you really want to see how these pieces work, you'll have to view them in a different browser. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but let's just talk about while we're here, the content here. So in this case, we have these accordions, and you basically click and open and collapse, and it will have your content. So you basically can build out multiple pages or multiple areas of content within a single page. The other one is tabs. Again, same information, but in this case, it's put into a tab, and you can click between these and view the content that way. Again, you can display multiple bits of information on the same page. Things with tabs, though, you do kind of want to have the contents be similar or related, or as our webmaster will say, parallel between them. But so you just want to think about that. You don't want to have just totally unrelated content between tabs just trying to save space. So those are two ways that we can kind of display that content. All right, so if we did want to preview this and see how this works, one of the great ways to get the address to share with somebody is by clicking on the preview here. Let me start back over. I'm sorry. Let me come back to here. On this page, when I click preview, you'll see up in our URL bar up here at the top, we have several characters here. There's like 26 characters, I think. With basically, this is the unique identifier for this page. This is this live preview. And if I was going to take this and share this with somebody, they wouldn't be able to see it. If I come over here and click on one of these buttons, or even the same page here, when I click on this, you'll see that it now is something a little more human readable here. WCM stage, the path to the page that I'm on. I can actually take this URL and copy it and come over to another browser and come up and paste that in and hit return and preview that page. Now, in this case, what I have gotten is an error. And the reason I've got the error is because I have not set my page to be preview or be shared on the stage. So what I have to do is go back to my page, click on my desktop. Here's my content, here's my page. If I click on this button, stage, that will send it to the stage, which will then be able to be viewed outside of being logged into Sitecore. So now if I reload this, hopefully that will show back up. As long as there we go. Now, what you'll notice is the only page that shows up is this first page. My tabs and my other pages are not showing up either. So what I have to do for those same things is come over to the page, click stage. Same thing with the tab, stage. And once the page flashes, there it goes. It should be live for anybody who wants to view it within the SMU network. All right, so there's my tabs. And so I can come over here and now I can preview those tabs working or not. So what you're starting to see is each piece that you want to show up has to be staged. The pages have to be staged using the stage button. The parent page has to be staged for you to see your content. So if I'm building out a whole new section and I want to share it with somebody, not only do I have to stage the page I'm working on, but whatever page is above it also has to be staged. This is also a great way to kind of review your site before you make it live to see what content you've made available and what they're actually going to see when they're logged in. So in this case, I've clicked on this tab page and I don't see any of my widgets. And the reason for that is, unlike the stage, the widgets, and in this case it's in this widgets folder here, the widgets have to be published. And right now I have a group of widgets here already. And what I can do is come to my Publish tab, click on the Publish pull down. And what I like to do is if I just do the folder, it will take care of that widget and all the widgets underneath. So what I want to do is just go ahead and publish those. I'm going to go ahead and check for the widgets. I'm going to go ahead and leave public checked. And the reason for that is that a widget is not visible unless it's on a page. So they can't view the widget by itself. It has to be embedded on a page. So if you want to, you can go ahead and just save yourself time and go ahead and leave that selected as public. Gonna do that, say yes, I'm gonna publish those. And now when I come back to Chrome, and reload, I should now see, oops, I don't know what I just did. There we go. Come back to Chrome, and you can now see the tabs and see how they're gonna work. For the accordions, I need to make sure I stage that one. And stage that. There we go. Just saw it flash. Reload this. There we go. The accordions, this is how it's going to work. One will collapse, the next one will open. So these are just two different ways that you can have content on your page and ways that you can add them. To create a tab or an accordion, what you'll do is go to your widgets folder and then just click on the button or right click on your folder and say insert and choose the one you want. So if you want a tabs, you can just select tabs. Now there's, as you can see here, 3 tab options. The first one, tabs, is for doing 4 tabs. The tab 6 count will have 6 tabs. The tab 8 will give you 8 tabs. So when we started off, we thought 4 was enough, and then somebody said, "Oh, can I have 6?" And somebody said, "Well, actually, can I get a few more?" So we now have that. I would love to see 26, and then we can just do the whole alphabet. But in this case, you just choose the one you want. So I'm just going to do the tabs here and click. There's my tabs. Give it I'm going to give it a better name, like demo tabs. Click OK. And you will have your tabs here. Each tab can have a title, as you can see on our tabs here. That's what's going to show up in this area here. So this one is tab 1. And then it has, each section has its own little editor. If I click show editor, it'll be that same rich text editor we're all familiar with. So you can add your content in here, you can add your images, you can add your hyperlinks, you can basically build out a whole nother page within this tab. All the features that you're used to are available just within this one section. I'm gonna put that there. Accept, and I'll go ahead and save them. Now, if we want to add that tab to our page, I'm going to go back up to my demo page here. To add that tab, we're going to go to our presentation layer. And so I click on presentation tab, I click on my details, and this will show you all the pieces that make up your page. So we got our heading, our masthead, our nav bars, our one column with sidebar, which is our default page style. We have our title, our breadcrumbs, our body content, the side navigation, all that right here. What I want to do is actually add a piece to that. So I'm going to say edit. Okay, I'm going to click on edit. And it's going to think about it. We might run into a small snafu. Firefox is not playing nice anymore. Zach, while we're doing that, let's go ahead. Do we have any questions coming in through the audience here? We can go ahead and answer.
Sure. Okay, we actually do have a really good question that I actually would like to have answered too. The question is, can you do an accordion widget with a table within one of the accordion portions? Because someone is wanting to, for example, make a calendar by month, but with an accordion, and then have all of the content in each month. So that is possible?
Yes, yes. That's just like any page.
Sorry, we're still logging back into Sitecore here. And then we will get that question.
So yes, you can, just because each of the accordions work just like the any of the pages, any content that you can put in your regular page, you can put into an accordion or into the tabs. So you can have the accordion show up and you can have the accordion show up, and within that you can have your table, you can have your buttons, you can have your image, hyperlinks, all those can show up. We're waiting for, still waiting there for our Sitecore to resume. It looks like having some connectivity issues here. Just please bear with us, but while we're doing that. So the answer to that question is a definite resounding yes. You can have a table within your page. Any other questions we have while we're waiting?
I do not have one at the moment, but allow me to just remind y'all, if you do have any more questions while we are here at the moment, we're still getting into Sitecore at the moment. But if you do have any additional questions for anybody out there, feel free to click on that Q&A button on your webinar software, and you'll be able to type some questions, and I'll be able to see them and pass them over to Ian so we can get those answered for you today. Also, if anytime after this webinar you have any questions, you're always welcome to go to the wiki like we've talked about before. And also, you are welcome to contact the help desk at 214-768-4357, as well as drop them a line via email at help@smu.edu. So it looks like we are just about back in. So if you could go ahead and resume that. There we go.
So there we go. Sorry about that. So we kind of had to switch browsers here. The Firefox is kind of choking there for a reason unknown. But so to add the that widget onto our page, we can come here and go to our presentation, our layout details, quick edit. And under our controls here, we see all the little pieces. And what we want to do is add a new control. And in this case, I'll just click add. I will go to my, if you don't see it, it's under renderings, project X, widgets, and in this case, I did a tab, right? So let me go to my tabs. Tab 6, tabs content selection. That's the 4 count one. Now, there's an area here to add to the placeholder. That's where you're going to want this tabs widget to appear. So there are 3 basic areas you can add content. One is top X, and that's basically going to be where that red bar is on your page, the big header at the top. This area here, this is our top X area. The other one is one column, which is this area here, where we see the tabs appear right now. And then the other option is sidebar, which would put your content over here on the side. So in this case, I'm just going to type in one column. And if I go ahead and check this little checkbox, what this will do is just save me 2 clicks. Basically automatically open that properties dialog box where I can then tell it where to look for that widget. If I don't do that, basically the control will appear, but I'll have to click it again and then say edit to apply that. So I'm going to hit select. I'll bring up this, and then I just say under the data source, I'm just going to browse to my widget that I want to insert on the page. I don't want to browse to the page, I want to browse to the widget. So in this case, I'm going to go to my Sitecore training folder, to my advanced, to my widgets, and there's my new tabs, demo tabs. There we go. And click OK. Then I'm going to click OK again. And one more time there for OK. And 4th time's the charm, OK again. So once I've done that, I can go ahead and just hit save for luck and click on publish. And if I click on the preview, you will now see that if I turn off my pop-up blocker, that I always want to allow those for this site, and click on my preview. There's my tabs under, oops, I have all that section text. There's my tabs there at the bottom. So I'd want to, of course, if I was doing the content there, want to replace the content that's appearing here with what's in the tabs. So there's my tabs added to that page. So let me show you real quick though that yes, we can go ahead and have in our widgets, I think it was the accordion. Was that, am I correct, Zach? The accordion for the table?
Yes, that was
Okay.
it. Yeah, to put table data within each of the accordion parts.
Look at this. I can edit this table real quick. I'm just going to add a new, is there an empty one here? Yes, there we go. And add table. Table, there we go. And click on the show editor. I'm just going to use the built-in table editor here. And there we go. There's my table. There's 1, 2, tab 3, tab 4, tab 5, tab 6, and so on. And again, I want to just add a class there for that table. The table class. Click accept. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now if I preview, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to publish that. Click OK. And come back over to my complete. Preview that. Because it's not going to show up because I'm now in since I switched browsers. But there's the table. So let's go ahead and copy this to this web browser, which should now be logged out of Sitecore. And now if I click on the table, there's my table with that table tag. Quick and easy to add that. So most of those widgets work like that. You will add them through that. We do realize that this process for adding widgets is a little complicated and a little convoluted. The instructions for adding widgets, of course, are all on our wiki at wiki.smu.edu. The other thing too is we're currently working on some advances to try to make that inserting widgets process a little bit easier. And once we've improved that, we definitely will create another tutorial to just show you how easy that is. And that's what we're looking forward to getting, making those changes on the back end, hopefully sometime within early 2017. Zach, do we have any other questions there?
I do not at the moment. So this is the last call at the moment to bring in some questions before we wrap it up today. So go ahead and click on that Q&A button if you haven't already. So we'll just give you a couple minutes here. Again, if you do have any questions or anything like that, feel free to contact the help desk. All of our help desk consultants do have access to Sitecore. So if you do have any issues with some of your websites you'd like everyone to look into, we can definitely go in there and take a look at that for you and troubleshoot things. So give them a call at 214-768-4357 or send them an email at help@smu.edu. They're also available in person in Fondren Library West, right next to that brand new Starbucks if you want to stop by. Also, if, like Ian said earlier, there is a wonderful compendium of documentation available on that wiki at wiki.smu.edu. I don't see any questions right now, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But if you, again, have any questions at all, feel free to let the help desk know, and we'll be more than happy to take care of you. Once again, on behalf of myself and Ian, thank you so much for stopping by, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.
Thank you all so much for attending.